right, everyone, the Lou Vuto Podcast is starting. Oh, I just love him.
And we are back with a new episode of the Lou Vuto Podcast. I believe this is episode number 9. And it's been a while, but anyway, we'll get into it in a minute. But this podcast is brought to you by the Charlie Hodge Home for Charlie Hodge. All right, we got some things to handle here, and like I said, this is the first one I've done for a long time. I initially started doing these podcasts, and just the audio one. I initially started doing them when I was moving from Pigeon Forge, and I wanted to do something where people who wanted to keep in touch with me could do so. As far as what I'm doing and all that kind of thing, because I wouldn't be, I'd been in Pigeon Forge for so many years and had been performing on a regular basis that I got to see some of the folks who had come to the show on a regular basis. So that wasn't going to be the case, and I figured this would be a good, way to keep in touch. It's not that anymore because, first of all, I haven't done anything with it in a while. I did the first 8 episodes, and there was some information about what I've been doing at the time. So hopefully that was helpful. But now it's just a, it's maybe a desired hobby. For one thing, one reason that kind of got me excited about doing them again, these podcasts, is I just got me a new microphone. And really a nice microphone. I got a really good deal on it. They're normally about 3 times more expensive than what I paid for this one. And this one I bought from somebody who had bought it new, but they used it once or twice and decided they weren't going to do podcasts or something. So they sold it for really cheap, but it's really a good mic. And if nothing else, it looks good. So anyway, so I got a couple of things that I wanted to talk about today. And one of the things is I wanted to talk a little bit about the Elvis movie. And what I'm going to do is I want to get some info here that I should have gotten before I started, but that's okay. There we go. I'm going to talk about the Elvis movie and just some of my thoughts on that, and then also I wanted to mention something about some shows I got coming up. So anyway, I do have some shows coming up in Pigeon Forge. One will be in August, and another one will be in December. And I will be releasing the information once the contracts are signed and all that kind of thing. Because nobody's set up to take any reservations yet. So I guess my concern for any box office employees having to deal with questions that are unnecessary when they're not able to make any reservations yet. I like to kind of hold back on that, and when they are, when they can make reservations, then we'll let the information out, and then you can call and make reservations, or you can make reservations online. But anyway, so August, we're going to have a show with a band, and backup singer. We'll see how many backup singers we have, vocalists. And then December also. Now December, we'll probably do somewhat of a holiday theme for that show. Of course, Elvis had a good number of holiday songs that he did, and the first half of the show we'll do some holiday music in that portion of the show as well. Not only myself, but with any special guests that I'll have in those shows. But then August, I'm not going to do a full-blown Elvis show, but of course that's the anniversary of Elvis's passing, August 16th. He passed away on August 16th, 1977, of course, at 42 years old. But we'll be doing, the major part of the show will be Elvis, of course. So we have that coming up. Also, a friend of mine has been working on some casinos and in some of the states in the eastern United States, and nothing definite on that yet. Hopefully that's going to get ironed out in the next week or so. But and again, I don't want to say anything. I hate saying something when something's not nailed down. I hate it. So, but anyway, that's coming. So the casino thing brought to mind, though, something, for years we did a show at Harrah's Casino in Cherokee, North Carolina. And really great folks over there in Cherokee. They really took care of us, and we really had a great time. I think we did 10 years or 8 to 10 years there. We sold out every year except for one. We had bad weather, and I think the showroom held like 2,000. And the one year we had bad weather, we only sold 800 seats. But I mean to tell you, just driving from Pigeon Forge to Cherokee, North Carolina, which, I don't know, it was normally like a 35-minute drive. I think it took us an hour and a half because the snow was so heavy, the fog. But we, the show was scheduled, so we made the effort to get there. And of course, they had the show, and the weather didn't seem to bother 800 people, evidently, as far as who came to the show. So, but we always did really well there at Harrah's. But funny thing that comes to mind is, I think either before or after one of the shows, and I have to preface this by saying that I am not a good gambler. I never really had an interest in it, and I never, I just was never good at it, and I really never did anything. But one time Charlie wanted to go to the casino there in Cherokee, and so he rang me up and asked me if I'd want to go with him, so he'd have some company, I guess. And so we went up there, and we were both doing the one-arm bandit, as they call it, the slot machines. And he was at another one, and I was maybe 2 or 3 away from him. And I put, let's see, what was it? I put $60. I spent $60 at this one slot machine, and I wasn't winning anything. Again, I'm so terrible at it. So I get up and I, the heck with this. I'm not going to do anymore. So Charlie sits down at that same slot machine, and he puts $20 in, and he wins $80. And he starts walking away. I said, "Hey, give me my $60 back." And he's like, "Sorry, son, it doesn't work that way." But funny, that came to mind as I was thinking about the casinos, and hopefully those shows will work out. But anyway, but then another thing actually just came to mind as well. There was, I don't know. I was playing the slot machines another time and losing, of course. But I'm sitting. Maybe there's one slot machine between me and this other woman. And she's playing. So she was a serious, it was evident she had been there often at that casino. And so she had one of these cards, like a frequent visitor's card or a free, where if you gamble so much, they give you a free room or whatever. So she had one of these cards inserted into her slot machine. And then she had one of these it was attached to her pant loop, and it looks like an old telephone cord attached to the card so that you don't lose it. It's attached to you, right? So I'm, again, one slot machine away, and she's done. So she cashes out, a couple of coins come clinking down, and she gets up and she starts to leave, but she forgot to take her card, which is, again, attached to her pants. And she's leaving, and she starts to walk behind me, and I see this telephone cord thing that's attached to her pants and the card starting to stretch, and all of a sudden it comes out of the slot in the machine, and it smacks her in the behind. And she looks at me like I smacked her behind. And I said, it was your card. But she gave me a dirty look and keeps walking. She, I guess she didn't understand what had happened, but, she looked at me like I did something wrong or I did something to her. So kind of funny. Anyway. All right, got to get a sip of coffee here. So, anyway, I've been wanting to do something and talk a little bit about the Elvis movie, Elvis 2022 or whatever. I guess it's officially called Elvis, but they attached the year to it, so because there was another movie, I believe, the movie that Kurt Russell did was called Elvis as well. So, anyway, Elvis 2022. A lot of people ask me what I thought of the movie, and of course, having been an Elvis fan since I was 10 years old, I had to go see it. And I was excited about seeing it, and I'd heard good things about it. But I have to say, of course, the movie was done by Baz Luhrmann. He was the director. And it was a Warner Brothers movie and so forth. And, of course, Austin Butler played Elvis. Now, the thing about it is when you go to or you see these award shows on television, where they're giving awards for movies, they break everything down into really minute categories. Everything from the cinematography to the music, of course, the actors, the main actors, supporting actors, and the cinematography. I said that, didn't I? And, so they break everything down. And so, in my thinking, I kind of did a similar thing because there were parts of the movie that I didn't like, and there was some overall things that were communicated that I didn't like. And, I didn't know Elvis personally, of course. I've gotten to work with a couple of folks, over the years that did. And of course, Charlie and I worked together for a good number of years. So, and then, my personal research, I say research, but, my interest in Elvis led me to reading certain books and so forth. So, and, this is just my opinion. I'm not the authority. I'm not, I'm not a a professional movie critic or anything like that. Just what I think. First of all, I think Austin Butler did a phenomenal job. I I don't have any complaints on the job he did. I think it was great, especially because, he talked about, I think in an interview, that he spent like 2 years researching Elvis and researching moves and. Now, for those of us who have been doing Elvis shows, 2 years doesn't seem like a long time, but evidently, the time Austin spent studying Elvis and all the details that he could in that 2 year period of time, it was very well done. He didn't, sometimes people, even guys who I guess we're called ETAs now, but even guys who do Elvis shows nowadays, some of them are, and I don't mean to be critical, but some of them are cartoon characters. I won't say any more about that, but anyway, he really did I feel, a respectful job, and really a good job, and of course, the costumes were great, and that's another category that they usually give awards for. Of course, the costumes were done by B&K Enterprises, somebody that made most of my suits in my career, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 suits over the years. They had done all of my suits. At one time I had like 15 jumpsuits and then a couple of 2-piece suits, and so they made all those. But then I replaced certain ones, when they wore out, because I was wearing them 6 nights a week, right? So like I'd have the owl suit, the dark blue suit that Elvis wore, with the owl belt, and then after a while you wear it for so many years, and I would sell my used suit to somebody, and then I would order a new one, same suit, but it was less. Well, it was brand new, so they not only made 15 of my suits, but then remade several of them. But they, of course, did a fantastic job. They've always done a great job. So the costumes were awesome. Austin did a great job. I think all his supporting actors did a fantastic job. But I really had a problem with, it was supposed to be a rockumentary. Is that what they call it? A rockumentary? Which is a documentary about Elvis, a rock and roll star, right? So, to me, it should have been as accurate as you can get it. I understand that they do movies, and when they do movies, they take certain liberties to make something more dramatic or more entertaining, which, regarding the Elvis, I don't really see why that's necessary. The Elvis's story to me is very entertaining and very dramatic, and I don't think it needs any director, trying to insert. But so the first thing and this is kind of the overall feel to the picture, is which I heard a lot of people saying and expressing, poor Elvis. The Colonel just ran him into the ground, and the Colonel took total advantage of Elvis, and a lot of people were left with this, like, poor Elvis, like Elvis was a victim, and that kind of thing. And again, I didn't know Elvis personally, but from the books that I've read by people who would know, like Priscilla, Joe Esposito, of course, Charlie, some other folks, and also with talking to people like Charlie and J.D. Sumner and Stamps and the Sweet Inspirations, Elvis was no victim. I'm here to tell you, Elvis was not a victim. You could not manipulate Elvis into doing anything that Elvis didn't want to do. And, granted, the Colonel was selfish. He was, his main thing was money, and his decisions didn't always reflect Elvis's best interest. But that being said, it wasn't poor Elvis. It wasn't, again, you could not manipulate Elvis. You couldn't make Elvis do anything that he didn't want to do. Elvis was always in total control. So I really didn't like that, how that kind of left everything. The other thing was there were certain details in the movie, like firing the Colonel from the stage. Again, there's enough that's entertaining and dramatic about Elvis Presley that you don't need to make up stuff, I know Elvis did fire the Colonel. And interestingly enough, after the movie, that was one thing I walked out thinking, that didn't really happen. Elvis didn't fire the Colonel from the stage. But then I stopped myself because I thought, well, I don't know every single thing about Elvis, and obviously it's possible for me not to know something. So I looked it up and, found out it wasn't true. But again, trying to make the story more interesting. I think there's enough there about Elvis that you don't have to make stuff up, So, I enjoyed the movie well enough. There were just certain things that I thought, weren't necessary. And I don't know. I'm kind of like maybe 70% liked the movie and 30% didn't like the movie. And I know that's so taboo to say, to have any disagreement about the Elvis movie, because I've I've been on social media where people had expressed their opinion, and God forbid that you would ever express an opinion that that didn't fit with everybody else's, because then people jump all over you and try to treat you, make you feel bad. But I've seen people express their opinion. Some people said they didn't like the movie at all. And then, here comes somebody and, just beating them up because I guess that individual liked the movie and thought it was the best thing since sliced bread or whatever. But, this thing about opinions nowadays where you're, if you have an opinion that disagrees with anybody or you got to jump on people and make them feel small because they don't agree with you. And I've seen it. It's especially in regards to the Elvis movie, where people try to make you look foolish or, whatever. I know that there were some people who, they didn't know that Elvis cursed or cussed. They didn't know that his mom had a drinking problem, and some other things, maybe the drug thing as well. And then I'd seen some folks online say, well, Elvis never cussed like that, he never talked like that, or Elvis's mother didn't drink, or Elvis didn't have that big of a drug problem, or whatever, and then people attacked him. Where, okay, someone doesn't know or didn't know that, but I don't know. I don't want to be the one to prove to somebody that, about Elvis's bad side or about the negative things. I would just assume either leave that alone or, if someone had asked me, I might answer the question, but I don't want to be the one who goes out of my way to, to prove Elvis's bad side. As a matter of fact, kind of interesting, Charlie's book, which is really a great book. Can't remember if it's called Me and Elvis or Elvis and Me. think it's called Me and Elvis. And I get confused because Priscilla's was called The Flip. So whatever. But Charlie always said about his book that it took him a year and a half to write his book. And in that year and a half, he says there wasn't one bad thing that I could think of to write about my friend Elvis. Now, okay, Charlie definitely knew some of the negative stuff, I'm sure. And he wasn't speaking literally. I think he was speaking, knowing Charlie, he was speaking from a viewpoint that Elvis was my friend. I loved Elvis. We were good friends. And, the negative information is out there. I'm not going to add to it. I'm going to speak well of my friend. So, take that for what it's worth. But I kind of applaud that, especially when somebody's, dead and gone. I have very little respect for these guys that, some of these guys that knew Elvis and do these interviews or whatever, and talk about, Elvis negatively after he's gone. Now, some of them did talk negatively about him when he was around to defend himself, and I have a little more respect for that, even though I don't agree with it. But anyway, the movie overall, like I said, I enjoyed 70% of it, and the other 30% I didn't enjoy so much. I loved the acting, of course. Austin again did a fantastic job. So anyway, I guess that's it for now. Hope you guys are doing good. I will release information about upcoming shows as soon as we get contract signed and people are prepared to take reservations and so forth. So you guys are awesome. Thank you for listening, and I hope you and your family are well, and hope to see you soon. Thank you.